Welcome everyone, SOC 201, Introduction to Sociology. My name is Professor Tom Berry. I am the instructor for the course. Super look forward to working with you throughout the course of the term. Sociology is kind of my passion. It's a lot of value, I think, out of developing kind of critical thinking about what's going on in the social world, kind of vantage points to better understand our own individual experience, as well as, our families, our peer networks, our community, and overall kind of more national and global kind of social issues. So the goal of this introductory video is just give you a little bit of background on the class. I'm not going to go into about sociology, what it is. There's a couple videos for that I'll share with you. But the goal of this particular video is really just to share with you how to navigate the class, to make sure you're started on a solid kind of foot, and that the expectations for the class have been laid out. You know what's going on. You feel good about, like, this is what I need to be doing. And then when we have our class session, you can raise questions, and we can talk about those questions at that time, or feel free to email me and I can respond that way as well. Okay, so I guess I'll start off with, this is the textbook for the class called Real World. It's a very useful book. I think they do a great job of, Kelly Ferris and Jill Stein do a great job of bringing contemporary social life into the textbook, looking at this sort of lens of a lot of cultural stuff. Pop culture stuff gets intersected a lot in the chapters. So I think it's a really valuable read. It's a really good read as far as textbooks go. As you note, it's the 7th edition. You can buy the 6th or 5th edition, and that would be, for the most part, I'm not going to say 100% fine, but for the most part, you can be totally fine. As you'll see the layout of the course, it's not going to be something that you would miss out on something if you had the 6th or 5th edition. I wouldn't go back further than that, because then the information is just going to be more and more outdated. Abe Books is a great website for used books. ABEBOOKS, abebooks.com. You can buy that book there. You can get that delivered to you hopefully within a week or two, or find a different way to get it faster. I put chapters 1 and 2 in week 1 folder and chapter 3 and 4 in week 2 folder. That way, to get you covered for the first few weeks if you don't already have the textbook. I don't use Inquisitive. I did last term, but not this term. So I did a little bit something different this term. So let me share with you kind of the syllabus, kind of walk through that, course requirements, and kind of go from there. All right. So here, basically, syllabus, basic information, when our class meets. I'll kind of talk about Zoom expectations here in a little bit. I'll jump on before class. I'll be around after class. I mean, really, I think by appointment, either one of those, any of those, but always feel free if you ever struggle or you just want to chat about sociology or, career, education, whatever it may be. I'm here for you as a resource. So please reach out to me. You have my contact information. There's the textbook information. You can see a course description, looking at social forces shaping our lives, a lot of macro level things, basically a lot of micro level things, just seeing the interaction between the two. The course, you can kind of read over the outcomes, but basically the idea is developing analytical skills, frameworks for thinking, frameworks for knowing, develop knowledge, awareness that's important for one's own individual growth and understanding, and respect, value, appreciation for the broader social world that we live in. And to get there, we're going to be on quite a bit of a journey in this class, a journey into the past, a journey through the present, taking our theories and ideas and sort of bringing them to all these different kind of analysis that we can make about understanding that interaction between the individual, between the human experience at a more individual level, all the way to the broader macro level kind of things that are going on. You can read the learning outcomes there. I'll leave that up to you. The grading, sort of the assignments for the class. Every week there's these chapter lecture summary kind of points, and I'll go over this in a little bit. There's class participation, requiring video presence, video capability to be engaged in class discussion. There's points with that. I'll go over that a little bit as well. There's a midterm, which is a combination of There's two sections. One of them will occur during our class meeting, where that'll be objective style questions, true, false, multiple choice, short answer. And that'll happen in week 5 during our class meeting. And then there's an out of class midterm component too. It's more of an essay style where you're doing a lot of application of theories and concepts and ideas to particular things. And then a final exam, which kind of follows a similar format. Kind of a brief explanation of all those different kind of assignments. Information for you on the syllabus about, getting assistance for technology, resources, use them, right? If you have a documented disability, there's resources for you. If you're unsure if you have whether your disability or if you have special needs and accommodations, contact our office to be able to find out more information. I'm here to support you, so let me know what I can do to help you out. If you do have a documented disability, or even if you don't have a documented disability, but your learning style that you require something different, let me know and I will do my best to make accommodations. We don't, non-discrimination policy, it's important to know in terms of the student on campus. Title IX, in terms of protection, against gender discrimination, including gender identity, forbidden sexual harassment, sexual assault, etc. So just information, resources for you to be aware of as you are a student on this campus and in this class. Counseling services, great resources in our CAP Center for counseling sessions, free, open to the community, open to community meaning students here. So there's resources, information there. Principles of community, which I think are really powerful, just about our goal here overall. Whoops, hold on. Our goal overall is, as an educational institution, is to be inclusive, to be supportive of diversity, to respect the dignity of individuals, to respect differences, to value differences, but also sometimes to lean in if those differences are kind of violating or disrupting sort of democratic ideals in terms of equity and equality and understanding. So it's promoting kind of an environment where people feel a sense of valued, honored, respected in terms of their involvement in class and overall the campus environment. There's also safe zones on campus. There's information there as well. So creating, again, inclusive environment for individuals, specifically LGBTQ, individuals who identify that there are safe zones on campus. Just another way of providing vehicles for support. I don't know why the student insurance thing is here. Like, in case you wondered, there's no insurance with this class, or you're not covered by insurance. I don't know why that needs to be there, but it is. There's also great resources on basic needs, to fulfill basic needs. And there's in week 0 folder, there's information about that. Steps at COCC or step at cocc.edu, great resource for all kinds of stuff, housing, transportation. I encourage you, if you ever run into a bump in the road or you're on a bump in the road, to contact them to help, so they can help guide you, provide you support, let you know what resources are available at COCC, but also within the broader community itself. Academic honesty, code of conduct, right? So violations of academic honesty, including plagiarism, cheating on exams, those kind of things can result from removal from the class, an F in the class, and removal from the class. I put a statement here about plagiarism. Basically, do your own work, use your own voice. Sometimes it gets a little bit tricky, maybe if you're looking at a lot of documents and you're trying to define a term, define a theory, and you may unintentionally start to repeat the words of those sources. Be aware of that. So if you've looked at a lot of different sources, you've taken a lot of notes over definitions of terminology, push that stuff aside, use your own voice. That's just it's an absolute. So if there's violations of that, if people are starting, if a person has content that's plagiarized content, I usually will work, depending on the degree of that, I will work with that student. And, it's like, okay, let's work on figuring out how to move in a different direction to make sure your own voice is the central voice that's there. But I just want you to be aware of that. Just be aware in your written assignments, use your own voice. I'm interested in what you know. and your understanding. I'm not interested in the same words from a textbook or from another source, even in quotation marks. I'm just really not interested in sort of reading something that is already out there. It's about your explanation. So always use your own voice. I would say never, there's no reason ever to quote anything in this class, to provide direct quotes or source citations. But if you need to, because you really feel what particular quote's important, go for it. But the most part, it's all about your voice and your understanding. Okay, so then there's class schedule. This will also be broken down in Blackboard week 1, week 2, week 3 folders. I have folders for every week. All that stuff is laid out there. You can kind of see for this week, there's 2 different things. There's a chapter and lecture summary, part A, part B. There's 2 of them this week. One of them is due before the start of class, and one of them is due by Sunday night, April 4th. For every week, with the exception of this first week, these chapter and lecture summaries are due before the start of class. And part of that is so that you are grounded in the content before we meet for our class session. So that's just kind of a basic component. And that's week by week, just kind of goes through things. And there's some links there. And again, I'll provide those in the week folder, so don't worry about that. You can look over all the content that we're covering, the different stuff that we're covering. But let's talk about these chapter and lecture summary things right now. Let's see here. Actually, I'm getting there. Let's kind of go here first. So one of the documents you'll see in week 0 folder and week 1 folder is this document on class attendance requirements in Zoom-based classes. So we kind of walk through this because I think it's like vital, it's key, it's so central for creating a meaningful class for you as well as for me. I mean, Zoom can get us so far in terms of connecting, but it only gets us that far if we are actually connected via video, right? So I know it can be tempting to have your video off, or sometimes you may need to go for a second, go to the bathroom. I mean, those are the exceptions that are like, okay, that's something happens, turn your video off, come back on. And that may happen throughout a course of a class every once in a while. The focus here is like when you show up to class, your video's on, you're ready to go, and you're in a fairly non-distracted environment. I'm also aware that people are working in challenging conditions. Some of you may have kids, may have family members that kind of pop in and out in the background. Try to keep distractions at the minimum, but sometimes you can't prevent it, and don't feel bad about it. I mean, the best we can do is be supportive of each other in the best ways possible. My philosophy, my focus is, okay, let's be here, let's be present, let's be in a non-distracting environment as best as we can. If something were to happen, like, a kid jumps, is walking around. I mean, it's like, hey, man, kids are walking around. I mean, that's part of the learning environment that we're in. Try to minimize distractions, but you can't prevent everything. Don't feel bad about it. Just try to work towards creating a non-distracted environment. So, okay, eye contact, important. It's so difficult in groups or in a class for me to be speaking to names on a screen. It's just, you can't connect that way. I mean, it's hard enough to connect just video without being in a physical classroom, but just add on another layer of not having seeing faces. So it's just, this is a requirement in class to have video on throughout the course of the class. If you have technical difficulties, and you got to understand too that sometimes something may come up, right? Or you're incredibly sick and you just, but you want to be able to be present, but you just can't, you can't make it to the video part of it. The key is communication. If it's a technical issue, prevents you from engaging in video, email me before class, let me know what's going on, and let me know what you're doing in terms to remedy the problem, because I assume that the following week you'll be back on in terms of video. If there's other reasons, let me know. Ultimately, every time you communicate with me, if there's a problem going on with technology, it's okay, what's the resolution? What are you working towards to make sure that you're back ready to go in terms of video capability? This is also for your own learning too. I mean, it's easier to engage as a learner when you have your video on. I have a bullet point here, when we're in remote classes, we get to see everybody's house, their bedroom, their kitchen, bathroom. Well, I mean, hope not your bathroom. Keep distractions to a minimum. And I've seen a lot of cats, seen a lot of dogs, that kind of stuff can happen. Try to create an environment where you have the fewest distractions. Please don't go out for a walk. Please don't go start cooking or doing other things during class, folding laundry, things like that. I mean, we're focused, it's a class session, right? We are in class. I'm here to support you. Key is to keep me informed. Let me know what's going on. That's a key aspect of it. Okay, so let me pull up this other document that I was going to talk about. Let's see here, which is about the requirements for the assignment. Maybe the best way to go there, I will just go to the class itself, okay? So here's our class, weekly schedule. You can go into week 0 folder. You've already, this is where you'll go. You can see the content in week 0 folder. There's the Zoom meeting requirements I just went over, course syllabus, audio feedback or written feedback that I provide. Here's how to access it. And here's that information about, it's called Thrive Resources for COCC students, a great resource if you have any housing, transportation, other kinds of needs, contact, use that as a resource. I put that Zoom meeting requirement again in week 1 just to reinforce that idea. And then here's the document for the chapter lecture summary requirements. So let's kind of talk about that for a minute, just so you kind of know what's going on there. Okay, so this kind of just provides, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Why is screen sharing? Oh, there we go. Hold on. Okay, so it should be sharing right now. Oh, hold on. Okay. So let me pause for a second. Okay, here we go. Summary points. Okay, here's just some overview. Like writing's important. Writing is a way to learn. It's a way to demonstrate knowledge and understanding. These summaries are important for your preparation for the midterm and the final. As you can see, as we kind of walk through what the requirements are, that it's possible to watch just little pieces of the video lecture, but you're going to run into a problem when it comes time for the midterm. Watch the videos all the way through their entirety and complete the worksheet that goes along with it. So for each video lecture, there's a PowerPoint that I put in Blackboard, and then there's the link to the video lecture that's on YouTube. So print off the handout that goes along with the lecture, and just complete that handout, the worksheet, as you're working through the lecture itself, and then complete the assignment. So the assignment basically has, this kind of explains, before I go there, this kind of explains right here is, the midterm and the final. There's one part for the midterm where it's during our class meeting, and then there's an essay component outside of that. So you'll have 2 hours, right, for that in-class component. If you're not watching the videos and you're not processing the videos and you're not gaining content from that, it's just going to be a nightmare when it comes time for the midterm for you, as well as the final exam. And you'll just be setting yourself up for a lot of frustration and potentially just, for failure. So set up for success, right? Just devote the time. Watch the videos, go through the worksheets, you'll be prepared. That's all good. The requirements for the summary, so that's all listed there, but I was kind of walk through them real briefly just to kind of explain them to you. So in the first section, it's focused on the textbook. So section 1's textbook, you can think about it that way. So you note in the syllabus, you can see what chapters we're working on for that particular week. And this first section, basically take 2 points, 2 ideas. It could be very large in focus, could be narrow in focus. I provide the example here. It could be a very specific concept like anomie, this idea of sudden transformations that are going on in society create a lot of disruption and sometimes a lack of clarity on norms and expectations. So if that was something you chose, define it, explain it, talk about the importance of it, the value of it, and understanding, the human experience, understanding the social world, provide connections to contemporary life, historical life, discuss, the value, the importance, reflect on it basically in some way, right? So it doesn't matter. I think be judicious in terms of how you read the textbook. You can read it from start to end in terms of chapter, or just start thumbing through. Give yourself permission to not have to read every part of the chapter. Thumb through it. I'd rather you invest in things that you find are of interest and value to you and explore that versus feeling forced to cover a lot of things. I mean, of course, I encourage you to read the whole thing, but I'd rather you spend good quality time with a few things that you really want to know or that you are interested in. I mean, if you make connections to videos and share links, provide images, you can include all that in the document that you can submit, that you'll submit in terms of turn it in. So section 1 is over the textbook, and section 2 are provide 5 points from the lecture that you found meaningful, interesting, valuable, useful. For each of those points, for each of those points there, just talk about it, provide a little depth. What was the issue that was presented in the lecture? Why was it important? Why was it valuable? What did it add to your knowledge? Kind of like in that first section, right, with the textbook. The points you need to cover, they need to cover various sections of the lecture. I made a note here in this section here that they have to cover some breadth. So it can't be everything like the first 10 minutes of the lecture. It can't be everything the last 10 minutes of the lecture. It just has to be sprinkled, right? So different things that are coming up in different parts of the lecture, just so you're providing broader coverage versus one specific issue. And for each of those points, provide a little bit of depth, explain, discuss, apply. You can kind of think about that model. Provide the word count for each one of these. So in the section 1 over the textbook, for each one of those points, 125 to 200 words. Provide your word count after each point. So point number 1, describe, explain, apply, all that kind of stuff, and then provide the word count. To get to the word count, you just highlight it, and then the bottom of your screen over here, it'll provide a word count, like that's 156 words right there. So you have that. You have this component here. All chapter and lecture summaries due before the start of the class, with the exception of this first week. You have one of them that's due before the start of the class, and then one that's due by Sunday night at the end of the week. And that's noted on the syllabus, as well as in week 1 folder. 25% off if it's late, and no assignments taken more than a week late. If it gets over a week late, it's just like, okay, well, that's just, there's ample time there to complete that. And it's just lack of continuity if you're not completing them on time. Some medical emergency comes up. I'm accommodating, but I just need to know why. I just need to be in contact with me. And then finally, the last part here is putting information in your own words. Again, sort of explain that idea of use your own voice, explain things in your own words. Okay, so last thing, and that is, let's go back into Blackboard. Here we go. Here's week 1 folder. There's the summary requirements, Zoom requirements. Here's chapter 1 and 2 PDF of the textbook. And then here's the assignment that's due before the start of class. So you have the lecture on the sociological imagination and sociological theory, and the summary points of the 2 points from the chapter 1. So the first one here is chapter 1 and the sociological imagination, sociological theory power lecture. Okay, so that's part A. Part B is chapter 2 and the lecture, What is Sociology? The first one, due before class, submit it in, turn it in, right? Submit it right here in a PDF format or other format that's allowable, Word format, I believe. I can't remember all the formats that are compatible. One quick point of reference to is that Blackboard and Safari sometimes get funky. I use Safari most of the time, but sometimes there's a love-hate relationship there. They don't like each other and it doesn't work. The recommendation would be, if you run into a problem, to use Firefox or Google Chrome are the recommended ones. Or if you run into a problem, go to one of those. If you're in Safari or another browser and you go to, and you run into a problem, go to Safari, go to Firefox and make it work. Okay, so remember, this first one here, part A, due before class. It's both chapter 1 as well as the sociological imagination, sociological theory lecture. Part B, due by Sunday night at the end of the first week, and that's chapter 2 and the lecture, What is Sociology? A couple videos here that may be useful too, just to add if you want. These are just kind of YouTube videos produced by the Crash Course in Sociology. It's a great resource. It's kind of interesting, just really a lot of stuff going on, a lot of information. She's very enthusiastic. She provides a lot of good information in a short amount of time. So there's another resource for you for the class. Other than that, I think that's it. Chapter 1 of 4, 8 books. Yeah, I covered everything I wanted to cover. Welcome to class. Look forward to meeting you. If you have any questions, drop me an email. Best wishes. Stay safe, stay well. Looking forward to a great term, and take care.